Well, it's only just after 9:15 and Hartington is busy already. Wait till this afternoon. Hey ho, as I said before, doesn't spoil it being a beautiful place. So it's Saturday the 25th of September 2021 and I've come back to Hartington to do another walk around the River Dove, but I'm carrying on further upstream at the river, and today's walk, all being well, should be less busy than the last 3 walks I've done. I may be talking out my backside there, but so we'll see. But yeah, it's supposed to be dry today. It's been a bit drizzly at the moment, but generally it's supposed to be dry today, but probably cloudy for most of the day. That's fine. That'll suit me well.
From the centre of Hartington, I followed Hyde Lane, which slowly climbed out of the village. After about half a mile, and just beyond a barn on the left, I went over a stone stile to take a footpath signposted for Pilsbury and Crowdercut. Heading north, the path continued across several fields.
So today's walk, when I plotted it, the route is just under 6 miles and it's calculated at about 2.5 hours to do. But again, because I'm filming this, it will take me a lot longer. So on average, it takes me about 6 hours a day to film a walk. So I'm expecting to finish around 3:30, 4 o'clock, maybe before, maybe later, who knows. So it's going to be an enjoyable day nonetheless.
Soon, the path ran above Banktop Farm. The views were wonderful, as the hills surrounding the Upper Dove Valley stand back, as if to better appreciate the view, a real contrast to the confines of the lower dales of the Dove.
If you saw my last walk, you'll recall that I did give some background into what's involved in a typical day's filming. I talked about how I take some of the shots where I walk past the camera and a few other general things, so I'll talk a little bit more today about the filmmaking. Now, when I set out to do a day's filming, I always aim to have taken 200 shots by the end of the day. I always find that 200 shots gives me more than enough footage to edit down to a 20-minute film. So usually I end up taking way more than 200 shots, sometimes less, but as long as I aim for 200, I've always found that it's enough for that length of film. It's just better to take too many shots than not enough. I always try and vary my shots during the course of each day's filming, but most shots are normally just static scenery shots. So when I'm doing those, I always take them for a minimum of 10 seconds. Again, it's more than I need, but when it comes to editing them down later, it works so well, I found. But obviously it depends on the shots I'm taking. You know, if I'm taking a shot like this, and I'm gassing to the camera, the shots will be longer. And when I'm sort of doing pan shots as well, they're normally longer. But just normal static scenery shots, they're always for a minimum of 10 seconds.
I carried on, where the path became a distinct trot meandering across a succession of upland enclosures.
Something I should perhaps emphasise here is that there is no right or wrong way of making a film. I have my way, and there are a lot of other people out there that do their own films that they put on YouTube. They have their own methods of making films, but there is no right or wrong way of making a film. It just depends on the kind of film you're making. So, for example, I'm making mini movies. I'm doing more than just vlogs, if you like. So what I try and do is make my shots as natural as possible. So for example, the shot I'm taking now, this is actually one of the most difficult shots to take, as I'm sure a lot of other filmmakers out there will empathise with. Trying to actually carry a tripod and look into the viewfinder and make sure that you're in the picture is very difficult whilst you're walking. Now, I like to think that I've had a few years practice now, so I think I'm pretty good at it. But it's very difficult to make this kind of shot look natural. What I try and do is I've got two hands on the tripod now, which you might be able to just see there, just out of shot. But I just make sure that whilst I'm taking the shot, you can't see my hands. So what I try and avoid doing is things like this. That kind of shot. Now again, that's not wrong, it's not right. That's just not my way of doing things. Because I'm trying to make it look natural, what I try and do is to keep my hands out of shot as much as possible. It's not always easy. I'm trying to do it now, and you can still see that I'm holding the tripod, really. It's not very easy. So, as much as possible, I try and make it look natural. And what I also try and do is make sure that my head is in the upper half of the picture. So I don't want my sort of shot to look like that. That looks uncomfortable. So try and do a shot like that. That looks a lot more natural. And I'm walking forward now, so wherever I'm walking forward, I make sure that my body is to the rear of the frame as well. So I've got more space in front of me in the direction I'm walking towards than behind me. So I don't want a shot like this, where I'm walking forward. That again looks uncomfortable. So these are the kind of shots I do. So you can see I'm holding the tripod again. I'll try and put my hands out of shot. So yeah, that is the kind of shot I try and capture every time. So I've had a bit of practice. That's just my way of doing it. So it's just natural, as natural as I possibly can do it.
Still heading in the same general direction, I passed through an access area below Cardelow. Just beyond, the path was about to drop down steeply to a crossing of paths.
So far on this walk, I've been heading in generally a northerly direction. But now as I go down that dip, the path continues on north beside the wall ahead, but I'm going to take the path that goes off to the left down in the dip, and that'll take me westwards towards Pilsbury.
Reaching the junction below, I turned left, following a trod along a broad grassy fold. I passed a crooked marker stone to reach a narrow lane, which I crossed over to take the path opposite, signposted to Crowdercut.
I'm not going as far as that today, but in the distance ahead of me, I can see two of the most iconic hills in the Peak District. Parkhouse Hill to the right and Crome Hill to the left. But yeah, they're absolutely unmistakable hills, and one day I'll be climbing both of them. Bit of drizzle, they did say we might get the odd bit of drizzle today. Nothing to worry about though. Anyway, this is as far up the Dove Valley I'm going today. Just down there is where I'm visiting next, and that's Pilsbury Castle.
Today it's just a mound on a limestone outcrop, along with remains of various earthworks. But these remnants of Pilsbury Castle still present a powerful image of formidable defence. It was built around the end of the 10th century by Henry de Ferrers, who joined William's invasion of England in 1066. The castle would have controlled the ford, as well as passage up and down the valley, and was probably built as a deterrent to further opposition following the failed Northern Rebellion. But as internal peace settled, it became redundant, being remote from the kingdom's borders.
Wow, very impressive. Pilsbury Castle. Got to be careful here though, because as I was making my way up, the rocks are very slippery, particularly with this bit of drizzle we've been having. So I don't want any nasty accidents. There's a bit of sun coming out now. It's nice. Oh well, this is as far up the Dove I'm going today. If I carry on the path ahead of me, that'll take me to Crowdercut, and then further beyond Parkhouse and Crome Hills. But I'll leave all that for another day. In the meantime, I'm going to slightly double back here and go into Pilsbury itself, then I'll be crossing the Dove, and I'll be doing most of the rest of the walk in Staffordshire.
Climbing back down, I followed the wide grassy path. Coming out onto the previously crossed narrow lane at a hairpin bend, I was in the tiny hamlet of Pilsbury. Passing through a gate, I immediately went right along a descending path, signposted to Sheen and Brund.
Although my walk has been in the Dove Valley again today, this is the first time I've seen the actual river today. There's a ford here, so shall I wade through and cross? Nah, I'm going to take the footbridge. Here we go. I am now in Staffordshire again.
Having reached the west bank of the Dove, the path moved away from the river again and climbed up steeply alongside a wall to my left. At a junction, I carried on straight ahead, following the sign for Brund. At the top, the path came out onto a lane, where I turned left to follow it towards Sheen and Hume. I passed below Sheen Hill, which is at a height of 1,250 feet. In just over a mile, the lane reached the village of Sheen. St Luke's Church is a well-known landmark, having a weathered green, copper-covered short spire. The village is first known to have had a church as early as 1185. The oldest grave slab in the churchyard dates back to 1200. Sheen is a one-street village with a handful of cottages and several working farms. It is a very rural little hamlet, sitting on a ridge on the Staffordshire side of the River Dove, surrounded by fields of rich pasture rolling down to the River Manifold.
There used to be a nice pub in Sheen. It was called the Staffordshire Knot. It was just down there, one of those houses. But it looks like it's closed now. The sign's gone and perhaps it's just become a private house. Yeah, I remember going in there once. It was nice from what I can remember. Oh, that was Sheen. Just got to walk back to Hartington now then.
I followed the farm track, and when it eventually curved to the left, I took a path straight ahead, dropping down a steep gorse-covered bank and aiming for another footbridge over the River Dove.
I'm starting to see more people ahead now. You can tell I'm getting closer to Hartington. No doubt when I get back to Hartington in a few minutes, it'll be busy again. But it's funny, I've hardly seen a soul on the Staffordshire side of the Dove today. Just a few people as I cross the footbridge after Pilsbury, but I've not seen anybody else apart from that. But I saw more walkers when I was on the Derbyshire side this morning, so funny really. Oh well, I'm nearly at the end anyway. What I will say, just to add on to my filmmaking, is that I do miss the older camcorders. The very first camcorder I had, it had a viewfinder on it. Nowadays, you've just got a screen, which is great because you can see yourself in the shot, which you couldn't do with the original camcorders. However, that's all you've got now. You don't have a viewfinder now, or at least I haven't got one on my camcorder. I'm sure if I was to spend a lot more money on a much more expensive camcorder, they will have a viewfinder in them. But I do find that it was much easier to actually see a shot better when you were looking through a viewfinder. Because although I can see myself now in the screen, that's fine, but when I'm taking a static shot again, you don't actually see it as clearly as you would have done in the old viewfinders. So when I actually get to play the shot back later on, I sometimes find that the shots are not always square, so it might look as though that the shot is a bit like that, or like that. There's a spirit level on the tripod, but even so, it doesn't necessarily mean to say that the shot is going to be absolutely square, and it's very, very difficult to actually see that clearly in just the screen. But you could do that in the old viewfinder. Hey ho, well maybe one day, when I've got a bit more money to spend, I'll be able to buy a more expensive camcorder that does have a viewfinder, because they were good. There we go, back on the Derbyshire side of the Dove now. Yeah. Another lovely walk in the River Dove Valley. Yeah. So it's, I just looked on my phone and it's nearly 3:20. So what time did I start filming the walk this morning? It's about 9:15 if I remember rightly. So again, another 6-hour day, and I'm not quite finished yet. I mean, I'm not going to do much more filming now because I've only got about a 10-15 minute walk back to Hartington, and I might take a couple more shots when I get back, but that'll be it for the day. And I've gone past 200 shots, so I know I've reached my target of the amount of shots I wanted to take. But yeah, so it'll be another sort of 6 to 6.5 hour day filming today. And maybe when I do my next walk, I might talk about what happens after I finish today's filming and what I do with the footage once I've got it back home.